in less than 2 hours from now, government will close the chapter on the debt restructuring program, a key component of the International Monetary Fund bailout. Individual bondholders, as we know them, now have a choice to voluntarily participate in a domestic debt exchange program or be left out just to their fate as the deadline for the program expires today. Finance Minister, in an address to the nation last night, reiterated amendment terms of the agreement, stressing that it is the best government can do and that the current economic hardship, and of course that individual bondholders and pensioners were hoping, of course, in the last minute to push to get the minister to exempt them totally from the program. But that didn't happen. The finance minister is urging them to sign to secure a deal with the IMF and restore the nation to macroeconomic stability.
2022, we invited all holders of Ghana's bonds to volunteer to exchange their holdings for new bonds whose terms are compatible with our desired downward debt trajectory. This invitation was within the context that for Ghana to reach the required debt sustainability threshold of debt to GDP of 55%, it was important to review the interest rates and maturities of the existing bonds. Having listened to and acknowledged emerging concerns, we have recalibrated the framework of the DDEP with the following constituting the terms of the improved and enhanced offer. 1. All individual bondholders who are below the age of 59 years, Category A, are being offered instruments with a maximum maturity of 5 years instead of 15 years and a 10% coupon rate. 2. All retirees, including those retiring in 2023, Category A, are being offered instruments with a maximum maturity of 5 years instead of 15 years and a 15% coupon rate. All retirees, including those retiring in 2023, Category B, are being offered instruments with a maximum maturity of 5 years instead of 15 years and a 15% coupon rate. The objective of this is to ensure that individuals, especially retirees who put their hard-earned savings in our domestic market, are not left in hardship as a result of the DDEP and yet contribute to the resolution of our current crisis. We have been intentional in pushing the threshold of what is possible in order to safeguard the well-being of our pensioners, preserve the savings of individuals, protect the working capital of businesses, and ensure the health and stability of our financial sector whilst restoring macroeconomic stability. Indeed, since the first announcement of the DDEP, the government has engaged in good faith discussions and extensive stakeholder engagements of all groups in order to reach a resolution that ensures an orderly path out of our economic challenges.
Well, the finance minister there, but government is hoping to seal a deal with the individual bondholders and pensioners to reach the 80% IMF threshold acceptable. But what happens after the closure of the deadline? Here with me is Isaac Kofi, his data analyst with the Joy Research Desk. We'll be getting into all of that shortly. But before then, where the finance ministry earlier today, where my colleague Kwesi Aveji has a report of some of the individual bondholders besieging the finance ministry earlier today.
Day 2 of their picketing at the ministry demanding the total exemption, as you have indicated just now, that yesterday in the minister's broadcast he indicated that there is no way government is going to grant their exemption, but they are being relentless on their call for a total exemption. And so, as you can see, there are a number of them here with the placard they came here with yesterday with the same message, total exemption from the government domestic debt exchange program. Let's have a short interaction with a few of them on why they are so relentless on their call. Sir, the minister, when he met you yesterday, indicated that government position right now won't allow them to grant your request. In the evening broadcast, he re-emphasized the deal they have made available for you. Why are you still here today?
I listened very carefully to the minister, and we are asking for total exempt. You'll hear it later from our convener. But for now, revered senior citizens and our countrymen, today is Tuesday, the 7th of February, 2023. 75 years ago, on the 28th of February, 1948, just about 3 kilometers from here, veterans of the Second World War belonging to the Gold Coast Regiment of the Royal Gold Coast Frontier Force were marching to Christianborg Castle to submit a petition. At the crossroads, they were intercepted, and 3 of them, Sergeant Ajete, Corporal Atipo, and Private Odate Lamte, were martyred. They shed their blood for this land. 75 years ago. Today, indeed, let me say, from last month, we made petitions to His Excellency and to the minister. Fortunately, we've not been intercepted with bullets to kill us. However, I want to draw attention that about 4 years ago, during the banking restructuring, several of our people died. They died out of poverty because what they planned is not what came to be. So blood was shed. Now, as we stand here, we represent a section of the whole society. In 1948, it was soldiers. But here, as we stand, farmers, fishermen, soldiers, lawyers, judges, policemen, engineers, doctors, Macaulay women, economists, every group within the sector of the society. We are here, and we are veterans. Why are some of us, even as we speak, because of desperation, fear, having strokes, and some dying? Blood is still being shed. I want us to remind ourselves of what happened 75 years ago, and remind ourselves of what is happening now. We are still pleading with His Excellency, and with the Minister of Finance, Ken Uforata, to consider the total exempts.
Well, that's the appeal, but the timeline and the deadline is running out. I want to bring in Isaac Ej, who's joining us now. Quite a very heartfelt message there from the individual pensioner bondholders. But let's talk about their options now and what opportunities are available to them, knowing. And we're saying that doing all of this in the context of what it is that the finance minister has said. There's no hope at all, is there, that they will be exempt totally?
Well, in fact, they have less than 24 hours
to make that case.
A decision. In fact, most of them are now left on the fence. They don't know where to, be, whether to be on the tangent of subscribing or on the tangent of just leaving their bonds without knowing the tradability of their bonds after the program kickstart. But what they are asking for, we know that they are asking for a total exemption. Simply means that they want their original coupon rate. They want their original maturity date. They don't want any new bonds. All that they are asking for is that government leave our bonds alone. we don't want your new arrangement. If you listen to the finance minister yesterday, he made it clear that if you look at the data and, these pensioners who have government bonds, and if you look at the strike day average, most of them have bonds or coupon rates ranging between 18% and 19%. This is what they are asking for. Government is saying that I can't give you the 18 to 19%, I can give you only 15%.
But the year?
And then the year, I'm actually bringing it down from the 12 years now to 5 years for you so that you can get your money. And
that's what the finance minister is calling a better deal.
Yeah.
Isaac, we'll get to that point. It's whether or not it's a better deal. Kokuye Jo Edu is also an individual pensioner bondholder. She's joining us now via Zoom. You have, barely 24 hours to make that decision. Will you sign up to this debt exchange program? Koku, we're not able to hear you. If you could just unmute for us so we can get the point you're making. I was asking if you were going to sign up, knowing that you've run out of time. Basically, you have, technically 24 hours to make that decision.
Oh, well, as far as I'm concerned, we have maybe about 24 minutes and not hours.
Aha, yes.
The deadline is at 4 o'clock. And so we do not believe that this program will be derailed because of us. And so we will continue to hold on to what we have under the terms that we contracted. Already, inflation and high interest rates have affected the value of what bonds we have. But that comes with the territory. That we cannot hold anybody responsible for. But to vary the terms of our bonds, that we cannot accept. We've been told it's voluntary. And yet the minister has found it necessary to explicitly exempt the pension funds. So there has to be some real benefit in saying that they are exempt. And therefore, we say we'll hold on to ours. We don't want to self-exempt. But we are being asked to self-exempt. We don't want that. We said, just say also that we are exempted. After all, the minister is very concerned about future pension funds or a future situation, which is he's concerned about the fund managers managing the funds now for people who retire in the future at the expense of current situation, at the expense of current pensioners. For us, we are managing our pension funds ourselves. We are not asking pension fund managers to manage it for us. We are managing ours ourselves now. And we took all kinds of decisions in the past to arrive at this situation today. We denied ourselves of current expenditures then. In order to put money away, either in the savings, investment, or whatever, you deny yourself of spending your money at the time. And you take right decisions to put your money away in whatever form you choose. People did business with theirs. People built houses with theirs. People had good times with theirs. What we did with ours is what we chose to do with it. And we chose that with some expectations. So please, and one of it is that we want to live dignified lives at this point in our life. We want to live in dignity. And so we took certain decisions. So please, we are saying, exempt us like you have exempted the pension funds.
And I recall,
if it's good for them, it's good for us.
And I recall that you were there day one when, of course, the finance minister invited you to make a statement. Afterwards, there was a response to your plea. He says, that's running through his statement now.
Oh. please, boa me, na me boa. You know, at the time that we took up bonds that were issued, that is when we helped him. If you issue bonds and nobody takes your bonds, you issue some papers collecting money from people. If you issue it and nobody takes up your bonds, you will get no resources to do anything. So we did that then. Yabuano. It's a stand now to us. In fact, what he said is what he should be doing for us now. We are what you. I have a bond I've held for about 10 years that's maturing next year. Look at how long ago I helped. Wow. Right now, it's his time to unwind. Give us our money under the contracts that we took with you.
He's revising
The terms
that
and
now.
conditions.
He's revising that now. He's giving you a 15% and a revised year for 5 years. Of course, he calls that a better deal.
Don't talk about 15%. You see, 15%. When you do that, it's as if you've given me 15%. But there are people holding bonds that are 20-something percent, 29%, 25%. That's where you should be starting from. You don't start from zero. Nobody issues a bond at 0% for anybody to go and take. Try it. So we're not starting at zero, please. We are starting at the contract that we got ourselves into whatever number of years ago. That's where we are starting. And all we are saying is that you have found it in your heart to protect future pensioners by ring-fencing and protecting pension funds now. And there are pensioners now. If you are exempting them, exempt us. That's all we're asking. We're not asking for better. It's a good thing that he has a good mind. Look, good considerations, great thinking into protecting pension funds for the future. It includes you. People who are 40 and 45, 30, who retire in 30 years and 20 years and 25 years. We have retired. So what's the difficulty? Treat us. That same good feeling that he has for the pension funds, that's what we're asking. That's all. We're already in it. We are too old to be employed. Indeed, we've left the job scene so younger people can be employed. We just want to live on our monies. We want to be a burden on ourselves. Monies that we put away. We have a certain life that we plan for ourselves. We just want to live in dignity. That's all. Dignified lives. We're not begging anybody. We are not a burden on our children, on society. Just decisions that we took in the future. Look, this is sending a wrong signal to younger people. Because we are asking people, save up, don't spend all your money, think about tomorrow, think about a rainy day, think about emergencies that will come in your life, and all of that. This is what we teach to people. When I invite people on investments, I ask your age, and then I direct you on what kind of investment. And if you're over 50, I will never let you go and take investments that are risky, investments that go up and down and swing around. You don't even have the heart to tolerate those kind of investments. So I ask you, go for safe investments, government instruments, so that when you put your money there, you can go to bed and sleep. Nothing will happen. Look at the uptake of government instruments since 2018. If you've seen that trend, you will see. It just kept going up. Everybody was going there. We all want safety. Ghanaians, we don't like risk. Many of us, we are afraid of risk. We just want fixed income. We don't want too much, whatever. Many of old people, they don't go to all those big funds that promise huge interest and things like that. You don't sleep when you are there. We went to government so that we will sleep. For this last month, come on our platforms. 75-year-olds are awake at night, sending text messages. They can't sleep. You know, so all the advice that you give to people, what we have taught in our investment classes to our students, everything is like has been thrown out of the window. Of course, nobody is saying that there's no risk at all with government, but we're not expecting it to this extent. And so we know that the minister has heard us. He's probably there crunching his numbers and looking for where he can make some adjustments. He will tell us something good. For now, we aren't signing. We are holding on to our old instruments. We have trust in that. We feel that's more superior. So we are holding on to it.
Right, and Kokoya, I don't know, I can imagine how you're feeling now. I don't know if you're a Christian or which faith you subscribe to. You just have 24 minutes. You believe that a miracle can come true and that the finance minister could change his mind?
Oh, that's something that's been going around. What doesn't exist is what? We have trust, we have faith, and our minister is also a very strong Christian. So we'll see. We'll see. We are also testing his Christianity with this. He will come and say something good to us. We agree that all hands on deck, but monies have been used to develop the whole country. Those of us who loaned the monies should not be the one to bear the burden. And we are hoping that you come up with some very creative ways of passing on this debt so that we can all chip in, so that even you, I'm hoping that you chip in. Maybe if we can start paying 10 cedis at the toll or something, all of us will drive through and we'll all contribute. They'll come up with some great things. We are trusting.
Okay, here's what I'll do. I'll give you the very last opportunity to speak to the finance minister and to possibly the president. There are many in authority watching now. What would be your message to them?
Honorable Minister, His Excellency the President, and all other people who have the heart to listen to us and our concerns. We have paid our due to the country. We are senior citizens now who younger people are looking up to. We have done the right things in our lives in putting monies away, investing in our future so that we won't be a burden on anybody. We are in a country where we know that we don't get some of the things that developed countries provide for their elderly. And so we took that decision to deny ourselves of certain pleasures, expenditures, and put money aside to take care of ourselves. Please, don't let it seem like we made wrong decisions in our lives. Don't let it seem like we failed by doing certain things. Let other people, let the young people look at us and see that what we did was the right thing to do. That they should save for their future, use their money well, be frugal where they have to, be sensible where they have to, put money away for the rainy season, for emergencies, for anything that could happen. And let them understand that in life we plan. This is a demonstration of planning. We've worked 35 years, 30 whatever years, 40 years. I mean, people work long time. And we're not just people who are in the formal sector with SNIT contributions and things. Some people do their own jobs. They don't have any other money coming from anywhere except what they've put aside. Please, don't let all of that seem like it was a waste of one's time. It was a good thing. And we want them to follow us, to do what we've done. A country that doesn't have people saving. How do you build a financial sector? Please, we did the right thing. And let it be seen that the decisions we took when we were growing up were the right decisions. So I know they've heard us, and I trust that they will bail us out. of this. So on behalf of all the people who find themselves in this situation, there's so many of them who can't join us. So the few of us who can, we're speaking for them. So please, Honorable Minister, His Excellency, as you hear this coming from me, I'm speaking on behalf of all those people.
Right.
Be good to us and make it worth our while. Thank you.
I appreciate your courage. Everything will be fine. Thank you, Kokwi, for joining us here on The Pulse. I'm really saddened by that. But of course, this is why we believe that the Finance Minister has, of course, that fiscal space to exempt the individual pensioner bondholders, because they're within the range of the surplus that we were talking about the other time. Explain that to us.
Well, as we speak, actually the deadline is over.
Yes.
It's 4 o'clock.
So it's practically not possible, but he had the opportunity to do something.
Yeah, so if you look at how much the government wants to restructure at the moment, the original amount was 137 billion Ghana cedis. And when they took out pension funds, it was revised to 132 billion. So they lost about 5 billion.
And that's well within what the Finance Minister told George Weafe in that interview.
Absolutely.
That, look, I'm on a target of 80% success rate. I mean, it won't make much difference if you just exempt this group of people, well, plus the individual bondholders themselves, because that would just have been 10%.
As we speak now, we have the bankers on board, we have insurance companies on board, securities on board, and then probably individual bondholders, they do not have the total exemption that they were looking for. You know, individuals who are also pensioners do not have the total exemption that they are looking for. The only group that was given 100% exemption was pension funds. And remember that pension funds that we're talking about here can be in two folds. Pension funds with government and your own personal pension. Just like Okwe and Co, probably they are private people, they weren't having social security, the government system.
So they had to put their money away.
Exactly, they were doing their own pension scheme, their own self. Now they are 50 whatever years, 60 whatever years, they need their pension money. Most of them bought the bonds 5 years or 10 years ago. To this year is their maturity. I was just looking at the data on the number of bonds, the amount you're supposed to mature in 2023, and I counted it's more than 20 billion. More than 20 billion Ghana cedis that we're talking about for just 2023. And if you look at, that is just principal. We're not even talking about the coupons, the interest that government is supposed to pay on it. So if you look at this total amount, and if at this huge amount that government is supposed to settle in just 2023, and you ask yourself, does government have that capacity to pay? So we know this year government is projecting to spend close to 205 billion Ghana cedis and generate just 160-something billion.
That's a shortfall there.
It's huge.
Yeah.
It's about 61 billion. And you ask yourself, how is government even going to fund this 61 billion that we're talking about? First, it was these same bonds that they were buying. They were using to show up.
Now it's off the table.
Now there's no bonds. We don't have bonds anymore. The only thing available to government now is what we are looking for. The IMF 3 billion, and then also treasury bills that we are actually borrowing from the treasury bill market. But mind you, this year, this actually, I have been looking at the data and I realized how high treasury bills, the rate is about 34, 32%.
Shorter.
So high to the extent that investors are being attracted. They
Much more to that.
Exactly, because of the high interest, and they are buying the treasury bills. Treasury bills are being oversubscribed. And we just heard a story on Bloomberg saying that government is planning to default on payments of about 4 billion Ghana cedis of bonds this year. And you look at all these things going on and you ask yourself, so the restructuring that we are talking about is supposed to come in 3 forms. You're supposed to restructure your debt, restructure your system or your structures, or probably do a fiscal restructuring. But it looks as if government is focusing heavily on the debt restructuring. But IMF condition is just debt restructuring.
You need to adjust the system as well.
The system, and then also your expenditure. If you look at the paper that the individual bondholders presented to the finance minister, they provided a number of alternatives, about 80 billion that they feel if government is able to do that, government will save itself about 80 billion cedis, and you wouldn't have to include, all these pension people and everybody in this, debt restructuring that we're talking about. You have bankers on board, you have insurance companies on board, you have securities on board. we believe that, individual bondholders believe that with these three groups on board, you can still even have your 80% target that you're looking for. Now we know your target has now dropped from 137 to 130, 7 billion gone. This 7 billion gone, I am sure, is because government is making plans to include pension people, giving them the 15%, the 10%, because initially it was 0, 5, 10, then 9 and 8 it dwindles.
But now it's been revised.
Exactly. So I am sure that the 7% difference is as a result of the current adjustment that government has done. But the key thing here is you can have other avenues if
of restructuring your system.
Exactly, restructuring your system.
Okay.
And even achieving the 50% debt to GDP ratio that you want to get there, you can't do it within the span of 5 years or this medium term that we're talking about. So take your time and make sure that you do proper consultation so that groups like these will not, get themselves affected by this.
Well, Kofi, it's all over now. Well, I don't want to say it's all over now. Miracles can still happen.
Absolutely.
That's what the individual pensioner bondholders are still hoping for. A lot of questions to be answered. Well, the Speaker of Parliament himself, Alban Bagbin, has now directed the Finance Minister, Ken Ofori-Atta, to put the details of that domestic debt exchange program before the House for consideration and also brief the members of Parliament on the matter,
which is the ongoing domestic debt exchange program that the government is pursuing. During the break, I joined the majority leader, the current minority leader, who was then ranking member of the Finance Committee, to receive a petition from the Association of Individual Bondholders. I am quite disappointed that the business arranged for this week does not feature the Finance Minister. The Finance Minister will have to appear before this House. And right on our Speaker, I appeal to you respectfully to instruct that the Minister for Finance appears before us so that we can have a full briefing, we can debate this matter.
The duty of the Finance Minister is not simply to engage this House. So, Speaker, Article 181, Clause 3 of our Constitution is clear that this is borrowing on behalf of the state. And Sections 55 and 56 of the Public Financial Management Act 2016 is also very clear that this is borrowing on behalf of the state. The terms and conditions of the borrowing ordinarily must be laid before this House and must be approved by a resolution of this House. And the Minister has gone ahead to go and define his own terms and conditions of borrowing and is out there negotiating with the bondholders terms and conditions that have not been approved by this House.
Well, except for what transpired, Deputy Finance Minister Abinel Sayasari was on the floor. She responded to concerns of the MPs and insisted that the broad policy understanding is that the exchange program has been approved by the House in the 2023 budget, but explained that the House had not been briefed because of its recess.
In the budget of 2023, we mentioned, this House approved that policy, that we were going to come up with a domestic debt exchange. And Mr. Speaker, based on the budget that was approved, Parliament gave us permission to spend compensation to a certain tune. And it's the same with our borrowings to a certain tune. And then capital expenditure as well as goods and services. And for my friend on the other side to say that we are now going to borrow, these are funds that were approved for us to utilize previously. And government is saying, I'm engaging with you to make sure that due to the conditions in which I find myself now, I will not be able to discharge what initially I had agreed with you. And Mr. Speaker, let me put it on record that the pension funds are not part of this exercise that we are doing. Just to correct my friend on the other side, pension funds are not part of the exercise that we are engaging now. Mr. Speaker, they are not part of it. All these various bondholders, we have been able to engage them. We did it with the banks, we did it with the insurance companies, and I know that last week when we met the business committee of the House, the leadership of the House, we mentioned that once Parliament comes through, we will come and brief the House on how far and the steps that we have taken to get to where we are. So, Mr. Speaker, Parliament was on recess. Parliament went on the 23rd. Parliament has just resumed. And we mentioned it last week when we met the House, the leadership, that this is what we intend to do, to come and brief the House. So I think my brothers on the other side are jumping the gun. A little patience. And let's not muddy the waters out there, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, let's not muddy the waters out there. We have done the engagement. Yes, it is true that we haven't been able to engage Parliament, but Mr. Speaker, we sounded the call to Parliament.
Well, despite this explanation, Speaker of Parliament Alban Bagwin directed the Finance Minister to appear before the House.
Honourable members, my understanding is that both sides agree that the minister be scheduled to come and brief the House, policy statement, and some details about the debt arrangements. Parliament is ever prepared to assist government to get out of this quagmire. And so what I can say now is that, like the church says, Roma locuta, causa finita est. Parliament has spoken, and that is the end of the case. The minister be scheduled by the business committee as early as possible, because this is an urgent matter. If the pensioners are picketing at the ministry, we need to do this as quickly as possible. I can say that by Tuesday next week. Tuesday next week. This week is quite packed, and so Tuesday next week will be appropriate. Even though we have some business to on Tuesday, I insist that it should be on Tuesday. We'll have to find time for the minister, because this is a very urgent matter, particularly dealing with elderly people. We have to find time for the minister to give us a brief.
And we'll keep our eyes on that here on the Joy News channel. But for now, here on The Pulse, we're taking a break. We'll be back shortly.